Hello, invisible audience. This is SadisticSkullGaming bringing you a new type of video. It's a podcast where we discuss certain video games and explain and break them down and stuff. What do you think, Cohen?
I think we're doing a video on what the hell is this abomination called? I mean, what the hell is this lovely game called Ace of Spades?
Yeah, we're doing a video on Ace of Spades, which the description is...
Ace of Spades is this sandbox FPS game originally made by an indie developer but was bought out by JX in 2012. They put it up on Steam for money. They can't believe they charge for this bloody thing. And yeah, this is... we bought it on a whim, thinking it'd be a fun thing to talk about, and so here we are.
So how we ended up buying the game was I bought him Risk of Rain, and then he was like, I'll buy you a game. So I was like, alright, and I saw Ace of Spades, and I was like, this is going to be a fun first-person shooter with voxel-based gameplay, and I remember seeing the development for the game when it was being owned by just one guy, and it looked cool, and I was like, you know what, let's get this game. It was like, what was the price tag on that thing?
Oh, I paid fuck all for this. The price tag normally is $15. I think I paid like $1.13 each copy.
So we got it for quite a good deal. Well, they should have paid us to play it.
Yeah. Jesus. So.
But anyway, that's the story behind the game. Why exactly do you hate this game now?
The game is an odd case in that the mechanic that it sells itself on is vestigial at best. You know what I mean? It sells itself on being a sandbox building game. The thing is, it plays much more. It plays much more like an arena shooter, and the building is hardly as like I have played the game for 8 hours in the past 2 weeks, and the thing is, it's bad. It's bad. That you play through the games, and there's 4 classes: the engineer, the sniper, the commando, and what's
miner. No one ever remembers the miner.
Yeah, and all of those classes are built around, killing each other. None of them really benefit in any big way from the building aspects of the game.
It's the equivalent of going into an FPS and the shooting mechanic itself is just not that good, and the entire focus is on the melee. It completely ignores what the game is built around, shooting, and just goes straight for a melee experience. Because
the maps are quite large, so it'd be like having a Battlefield game where you're only allowed to kill each other with the E tool.
The what?
Entrenchment tool, the shovel.
Oh, I'm imagining I got a USB! Poke a guy to death! Anyway.
Too much data.
What was I going to say? Let's start with the first class, which is Sniper, which is the most overpowered of the 4 classes, in my opinion.
Yeah. As a sniper, I think you have a choice of 2 rifles. One of them has less zoom but shoots faster. The other one has more zoom, but it's bolt action supposedly, and they both one-shot you.
Now they're modeled after this one gun, and they're really cool. It's called a PVC pipe. That's what these guns are. It's we put a scope on a PVC pipe and just put a laser in the center and get an insta kill with it. What happens is you make the enemy laugh to death.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the Steam page on Ace of Spades.
Oh no, I don't even want it. Okay, let's see where this is going. I guess we'll get back to the classes later.
There's 4 classes. We just discussed the 4 classes, right?
Yeah. We just discussed the one class.
Okay, well, we will discuss the 4 classes. I'd just like to point out that on Steam pages, Ace of Spades Battle Builder is the first-person shooter that lets you create your battle gun, destroy it, then create it again. Up to 32 players choose from 7 unique classes and jump into team-based multiplayer mayhem.
Where are the other 3 classes?
For some reason, they're counting the zombie, the gangster, and the soldier from the classic mode.
Oh my, okay. So there's a zombie mode where basically you get the 4 classes and one of them's a zombie. All it is you got melee. That's literally it, and the melee does ridiculous amounts of damage. The mobster one, there's a game mode where basically one person is the mobster and the rest have to protect the mob boss. If you die, you can just respawn, unless the mob boss is killed. So you have to kill the mob boss, the enemy mob boss, while protecting yours, while trying to like eliminate the rest of the players after you kill the mob boss, and that's how you win. But the class is literally, you just have the skin of like an old 80s, of an old 40s gangster, and you have Tommy guns and pistols. That's literally it. Like, it's not a unique class. And the classic mode is just, it looks like a snowman made of blocks, basically. And you get a rifle that is the most accurate. It's like a Mosin Nagant, but it looks like it's based off of Springfield. Actually, it acts like a modern sniper rifle, because that's the power of it and how accurate it is, and yet it's a Springfield. You can explain this a lot better than I can, at least.
Yeah, it says it's based off the Springfield rifle. It shoots 30-06, and it does ridiculous amounts of damage. It's very overpowered for a semi-automatic rifle. But
but it acts like... Oh, wait, I always reloaded after a shot, because I kept thinking it was bolt action. It wasn't bolt action, was it?
It really isn't. It's semi-automatic. It's 2-3 shots to the body, and it's always a one-shot kill to the head.
But you can see across half the map, so it's like you see all the way down the scope, and then just bing, and then you shoot someone.
Yeah.
Iron sight. You don't get scopes in classes.
Speaking of which, that brings us back to the classes in the new game mode.
Right.
The marksman.
So that means there's marksman, which he looks like a Navy SEAL with a mask, and I actually kind of like his player model.
Yeah, I think so too, but it took me a long time to realize that purple goop on his head, that blue goop on his head is supposed to be a beret.
What did you think it was?
I don't know. I thought it was supposed to be some sort of helmet, but I took a long, hard look at it, and no, that's a beret.
Oh, jeez.
It's allegedly a beret.
I knew it was a beret the minute I saw it.
Yeah, it's like the miner's helmet, the miner's hat. It's not like the miner. Well, it's not like the miner's hat, because the miner's hat is very clearly a miner's hat. It's just a yellow hat with blue stripes and a flashlight. See, that's simplistic. You can tell what it is. That they just put blue blocks on his head until it looked done.
I mean, it is a voxel based.
Still.
Anyway, so the next class is Commando, who is basically, he's a Rambo. He's literally Rambo.
He has a minigun, a rocket launcher as a secondary, and melee weapon. He does tons of damage with his melee weapon. Yeah.
The minigun's super powered, but you have a bit of a reload time, and your movement speed is kind of slow when you use it, so I guess it's balanced in that way. But it completely obliterates structures as well, because each bullet destroys a block, and then you're firing at such a fast rate.
And he has a secondary as the rocket launcher, which has nearly infinite range, and at any range, if hit directly, will one-shot you. Which, it makes perfect sense. I'm not expecting to survive a rocket to the chest, but it doesn't make for good game mechanics to have a weapon with the nearly infinite range that will one-shot you as a secondary.
Plus, it is the area of effect on it is quite big, so you get damage regardless, and it will almost kill you every time you get hit with that thing, and that's even if you're like not close to it. But it also destroys a ton of blocks as well, which I mean is also a benefit, but then again, it's just you build a structure and then it gets taken down by one rocket, which defeats the purpose of building a structure.
And I don't know what they were trying to do. I guess they were trying to pretend to be some sort of realistic, but if you have a tower supported by one block and the one block breaks, the entire tower breaks. So you can have the scenario where you can build a giant defense point at the top of this massive tower. One commando comes over with a rocket launcher, bam, the whole thing's gone.
I'm thinking of oh geez, let me look at the game in my library. Start talking about the miner and now, or what's the other class? Sapper?
The engineer.
It's okay, not even close.
The engineer. Lovely. Yeah, that's definitely. I'm gonna talk about the miner. The miner, his whole thing is that he builds. That's what he does. He builds. He has a gun that lets him break blocks at a massive rate. And how the game works is you start off the match with a certain amount of blocks, and you're allowed to have a certain amount of blocks. I think the maximum you're allowed to have is 1,000. You start with 200. And different structures require a different amount of blocks, or you could just place individual blocks.
Oh,
And how
you
you gain
have...
more blocks is by breaking blocks around the world.
Okay, here's my biggest gripe with building. You have pre-made structures, like you have a wall, and then you have a giant sniper's tower, which comes down with one rocket launcher. So those things are kind of useless. But the individual blocks themselves are like cube world sized. So if you want to start digging, you're going to have to break a lot of blocks to start moving. And building a wall out of those things, or even trying to build anything, is so...
Arduous.
Yeah, okay, so imagine trying to play Minecraft, but every time you want to break a block, like a normal block in Minecraft, there was 4 of them. That's Ace of Spades.
It does take a long time to break blocks, unless you take the one specific tool that's for breaking blocks, which for most classes will be the shovel.
Unless you're a miner, which he has a giant digging tool, which granted is an incentive to play as a miner, but that means anyone else that isn't a miner has no incentive to build or dig.
Yeah, especially since the maps themselves are, I'd like to say that they're actually pretty well designed, the maps. They have lots of natural hiding spots, and, you know, as the area starts to get destroyed, it starts to become World War II Russia in there, as you're hiding in rubble, just shooting at other people, as they try to take a structure which has long since stopped being a structure.
Or useful. Which brings me back to my other point. So if you have a giant bridge that's like 15 blocks wide, stretching from one arc of the map to the other arc, and there's literally a 1x1 pillar on one corner, the structure will not fall down. It is super hard to knock down buildings if it's not like just this spire going up.
Yeah. Speaking of the miner, let's talk about his antithesis, the opposite of the miner, the engineer.
Right.
The miner, what he does is he breaks things real damn quick. The engineer, he builds stuff real damn quick. The engineer, he starts with a total of 2,000 blocks, I believe, which right off the bat is twice the limit you could have at all in that game. If you're any other class, rather.
What class are we talking about, miner or...
Engineer.
Okay.
He gets 2,000 blocks, yeah. He starts almost full. He starts almost full, because his maximum, I believe, is somewhere around 3,000. He starts with 2,000, and he gets way more prefabs, and he has a gun that actually will place blocks for him.
That one is really worthless, though.
Yeah, but let's talk about why it's really worthless. Because it has 2 other things that are supposed to be the best things about this class. An automatic turret and a jetpack. Here's the problem.
The jetpack!
Here's the problem with the automatic turret.
No. Here's the problem with the jetpack. If you play Skyrim, well, one of the Elder Scrolls, there's a spell where it basically makes you fly. Have you seen that spell yet? Where you just shoot up in the air?
No, I don't recall that.
Oh, well, there's this one wizard. You just see him fall out of the sky, and he drops dead, and you get a scroll. You use it, and it's a flight spell. So you shoot up in the air, and then when you come down, you just drop dead. That's how the guy died. That is the jetpack in this game.
Oh, yeah, the jetpack, you can fly a pretty decent ways up. But the thing is, if you're trying to jump across, jump across an area, it's not going to work out for you too well. Because it has very limited mobility. It can only go so far forward, but it can go very far up, which is an odd combination.
So you shoot up at a super fast rate, but you move forward slower with the jetpack than you do walking.
Yeah, and then you run out of jetpack fuel and fall to your death, because that game is just. The character with the jetpack still takes fall damage, so even standing still, and it'll take it'll take nearly half of your health if you just hold down the spacebar, fly straight up, and then let yourself fall. It'll take a good chunk of your health. And then there's the turret, which is supposed to be an automatic turret, a sentry for the enemies to defend your structures and whatnot, because your job is to build, and it doesn't work. It shoots at enemies in the slowest way imaginable, and it's really... I've never seen the thing actually connect with someone.
I've died to it a few times, but I've been a sniper using a pistol on it, and that's how I died. If you go as any other class, you can basically destroy it. Like in TF2 or Dirty Bum, they take the turrets take a good amount of damage before they break. And what's the game we're talking about?
Ace of Spades.
In Ace of Spades,
Ace of Spades,
all you need to do is pull out your secondary, the rocket launcher.
Yeah,
and destroy
exactly.
it.
You, it's just, and not just that. If you are walking at a decent rate, like if you're like slowing down and just standing there, it'll kill you. It'll kill you. That's what it does. But if you're walking at even a decent rate, it's not gonna hit you. I've gone in as a commando, which is the slowest class, and there's a turret directly in front of me. I didn't even notice it. I walked past it, and then I realized that I was being shot at with rockets after leaving the area and seeing the area behind me explode.
Oh, we forgot to mention I forgot to mention the secondary on the sniper. He gets landmines, which I have to admit is a pretty cool feature. You can place them and then place a block on top of them. But there's one thing I've noticed is if I place like 3 landmines directly next to each other and then start placing blocks on top of each other, they just detonate. No reason. I blow myself up more times placing those things down than killing an enemy. And then the worst part is your teammates can trigger them. So if you're like, so there's no kind of visual cue. There's no like, by the way, this is a teammate's landmine. So basically, underneath a bridge, after I place some landmines, my teammates just killed themselves because, whoops. Which makes them useless unless you're like sniping in one tower, and you just put landmines on the staircase all the way up to the tower.
And not just that, I've done that. You know how the one of the prefabs you can put down is this little sniper's nest. It really looks like one of the Nazi towers from fucking D-Day, but yeah, you have this little sniper's nest that you have as a prefab, and I've put landmines at the bottom of my prefab tower, which there's other reasons why that's a bad idea, but ignoring that.
You can knock
And my
down
teammates see the tower and they immediately think, "Hey, he looks like he needs friends." And they run up. That kills both of us.
There's so many different things that could have just fixed this game.
Let's talk about the better of the two. Okay, another thing we forgot.
Oh, that's the normal game mode. And then there's... Well, wait, let's just talk about the game modes in the normal game as well.
Okay.
So there's Capture the Flag, which is... It's Capture the Flag. What do you need to know? It kind of works, I guess. I mean, the game itself isn't fun, but you still have that mode. But then you have one where it's basically... This is my favorite game mode when I've played, because it's kind of cool. You basically have to build a structure within, like, 2 minutes. Within this big, like, glowing box letting you know where you should build. And the more... Like, the enemy team has to destroy that structure within a given time. Then airstrikes fall on top of it, and then you move to the next area. And you're either the team destroying, or you're the team building. But in the end, instead of building like this cool structure, everyone just builds a giant block. That's all. They just build a block.
Yeah. Then there's Diamond Mine, which is you dig randomly where you dig blocks randomly until one of them drops a diamond, and then you take the diamond to the drop-off point,
Which
and
is
the first
completely
team
random.
yeah,
by the way.
entirely. The first team to get 15 diamonds wins.
Which means the entire game is played with miners.
Yep. Because as we said, the miners brought his ability is to break blocks fast.
But he has a shotgun, which a sniper is, well, his rifle is pretty overpowered because it's fast. Also, it also has a laser sight that's constantly permanently there. So they let other players know you're sniping them. So they knew that the gun was overpowered. They just put that there specifically to let players know so they weren't being sniped. They knew it was overpowered, but still. Because there's no, like... Okay, if you breathe with a gun, the scope moves up and down. Like, you don't get any of that from this game.
Yeah, but okay. Let's move on. Then there's their King of the Hill, their version of King of the Hill. They call it multi-hill. Multi-hill. Yeah, both teams they try to take control of areas on the map, and like normal King of the Hill, the person who spends the most time in the hill wins. And that game is functional, but I've never seen anyone actually play it.
We'll get to the community side of the game much later in the podcast.
Alright, okay, then there's your standard team deathmatch, kill each other until one of you kills 200 of the other. And there's the zombie game mode that we told you about, and the players
And that one is just horrid. I hate that one.
It's just a survival mode. You as a player, at the beginning of the game, someone becomes a zombie, and slowly as they kill people, those people become zombies, and you get all the players. And then there's the VIP mode, the one we described about the gangster. One team has VIP, the other team has a VIP, and gotta defend your VIP while killing the other team's VIP. And the first person to kill the VIP 3 times wins.
By the way, let's talk about the map design. So you can have there's actually a varied amount of pre-built maps, but then you have maps built by players. I've never played on one. Why? Because you have to go to Steam Workshop and download maps if you actually want to play them built by players.
Not just that, I've never seen anyone host a lobby on a player-made map.
That too, but it's just, why would I? I just
If
most
the building mode is ingrained in the game. Like buying the game, you automatically have the building mode.
I've never
Yet
done building mode. I'm not a builder.
to use the building mode, you have to go to the workshop.
Yeah, if you want to download different maps. So I literally have to go through the store, look through all the different maps that I want, and then just start downloading them. And then I played Brick Force because I was morbidly curious as to that abomination. And there's one thing they did right, is when you build a map, it just gets added to the filter. So when you play a random map, literally random maps filter in. Some of them good, some of them bad. This game doesn't do that. You have to go and download it.
It creates a situation where you have to advertise your own. You have to advertise your own maps in the game to get people to play your maps, so that you can play the damn game.
So if you're expecting to play anything other than the pre-made maps made by the developers, not gonna happen. Which also defeats the building purpose of this building game.
Not to say that the maps that they make are bad at all. I think they're actually quite good.
I thought the Coliseum map was pretty crappy.
Uh,
The one where it's literally a Coliseum and you fight within, like, the walls.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
yeah.
a big circle, and in the middle, there's nothing. There's no... Outside the Coliseum, there's nothing. It's just within the Coliseum.
That's like the Coliseum map on Chivalry. But the thing is, the one in Chivalry is full of traps and full of just environmental things you have to survive. Versus this one, which is literally just a big room with no cover that you're supposed to just duke it out in.
Now, if this was, like, a game with actual... Because, like, there's no, like... I'm trying to think, like, not just Chivalry. Insurgency, the guns have a nice feel to them, there's a variation of the guns, you can pop out from cover. Like, if Insurgency had the shooting in the Coliseum, where the walls constantly break and there's new holes opening in and there's teams on each side of the Coliseum, that would be fun, but it's not like that. You get miniguns, no one ever goes Engineer, because the rest of the Engineer's guns are crappy, and especially when it's just a slower, worse version of a minigun, so why play it in Sniper? Really, the only two classes people play are Commando and Sniper. And both of those classes render the Coliseum match useless.
That's true. Then there's the miner. The miner that just
Has a shotgun.
destroys the Coliseum.
Oh, you don't know how many times I've gotten in a match, and the spawn where you spawn in, the guy has put, like, the digger just a straight hole in the ground, so you respawn underground. And you have to spend half the match digging your way out of the hole that some griefer decided to do.
Okay, that's a bad map. But the bad maps, they're in minority to the other to the good maps.
Yeah, there's a saloon town, which is... I think that one's one of my favorites, because it's an old western style. There's actually mesas that you can fight on top of, and the town itself.
I like the Atlantis map. It's this map which has this big hub in the middle, but has outlying little temples that you can visit, and it's all connected by bridges and such, and there's lots of places to hide, and it actually involves all the classes, because the bridges easily break. So building is actually very good on that map, but only that map.
Yeah, but the thing is, if building with individual blocks was good, that game would have been so much better instead of having just the prefabs. Because no one wants to build with the tiny little blocks, because not only does it take too long, but they're too easy to break. But the prefabs aren't fun to use, and they're easy to break.
Not just that, the I forgot. Yeah, the prefabs, placing the prefabs by themselves, it's not great after all, because where your mouse isn't exactly where the prefab's gonna go. The prefab is relative to your character model, not where you're facing. So you could be facing like at your feet, and it'll decide that the prefab is gonna be floating 3 blocks in the air.
Or the worst part is, like, you get walls, you get sniper towers, and you get, like, little bridges. You don't get staircases, you don't get really... Like, if you want to build a custom structure, you can't, unless you want to use the itty-bitty blocks you're granted. Which, again, no one uses because they're horrible to build with.
See, but you can see that with building with the individual blocks, this game would work a lot better if it was just a lot faster and a lot easier to place the blocks. Whereas now it's just, or if maybe if the blocks just had a little bit more health to them, they had
Or
a
we're
little
bigger. As I stand by.
or bigger. Like as it stands, your character is awkwardly 3 blocks tall, and it's an odd thing to have to work with because your character's 3 blocks tall, but he can only jump 1 block up. It's a weird situation to be in.
We
There's
never
other.
talked about how the game looks, though.
Okay, I don't think for a voxel game, or at least voxel-ish game, I don't think it's that bad. I really don't think the graphics are that bad. But you know, it's hard to qualify the graphics on a game which purposely renders its graphics subpar to like 3D, like normal 3D polygon games. You know what I mean?
I mean, if you like Cube World's art style and the way it looks, which I really liked how the world generates in Cube World. If you like how Minecraft looks when it generates, you'll like Ace of Spades. But there's no like giant mountains with trees on them. They're all just like buildings. So there's nothing really interesting about the buildings themselves. Plus, it's like the brown block for the saloon. Is like there's no variation. It's just like a brown slate entirely. So the building itself is entirely brown. So it looks like a wall from Unturned. It's just monochromatic. Basically, is what I'm saying. So it looks kind of crappy. And the player models, they themselves look fine. Like the models are actually pretty good, except when you crouch.
Yeah,
Because then
weirdly
you've got
the
like an air
knees
gap
go
in your
up
butt.
into the chest. It's odd. But if you go to, a good example of a map that looks really good. It's a very small map, very simple map. Is the Block Ness map, and it's just this map. There's a frozen over lake surrounded by slight hills, and on each corner of the map, well, in two opposite corners of the map, they have little fortresses for the teams to spawn in. And in the middle is the Block Ness monster.
It's
That
a
is
giant
eating
sea monster that
a
came out of the ice.
tanker or a submarine of some sort. And yeah, if I recall correctly, it's a submarine.
See,
And it actually looks very good.
if you go as a sniper, you can actually dig a hole in the head and then carve out some of the teeth and start shooting in the mouth of the snipe and the giant dinosaur. And that's kind of cool. But again, Commando pulls out his secondary rocket launcher and just obliterates everything.
Yeah. One of the most. I remember when I first started playing the game. One of the most fun I had was I was a commando, and there's a bunch of snipers held up in the mouth of the Loch Ness. So I just spent the entire time destroying the neck until the head collapsed and dropped them to their death because it's actually very high up.
What I'm thinking of the game King Arthur's Gold. In that one, it's very similar. You have 2D pixels, and you have the archer, miner, and you have the warrior, and you all fight amongst these castles that you build. But it's really hard to knock them down unless you have cannons or kegs, and these kegs are super explosive. So imagine those like the Commando's rocket launchers. Well, the Commando's rocket launcher, you get every time you die, you get 3 new ones and a minigun. The keg takes a bunch of money to spend, and if you die using it, you don't get to actually use it to kamikaze the castle. So it's like a risk versus reward thing. I can buy the keg and attempt to suicide bomb their castle, but if I do that, I die and lose all the money, and now I have to spend like the rest of the match gaining money to actually buy the keg again. In this game, you just get rocket launchers galore.
Yeah. And just, I feel it's odd that you have a class that's focused around killing people, and it still has a massive destructive ability. Like, that's the whole point of the mine and the engineer. It's the builder and the destroyer. And yet, here comes the commando that can do both.
The thing is, the commando's destruction power outweighs the building power of both the miner and the engineer.
Yeah.
So they become invalid because their weapons aren't good. Also, there's no progression system. You get like 2 variations of machine guns, which again, one has better accuracy, but one fires faster. Same with shotgun. Better accuracy, fires faster, and their skins are slightly different. Like that's you get like 2 guns each. And then there's no like you unlocked this sniper rifle that's bolt action and variation of game. No, there's none of that. You get
Even
2 guns.
then, even then, I just love how little effort they put into making the guns actually different. Like again,
It's the
The
same
famous
model.
case of the marksman, where it is the changes are mostly cosmetic. The difference in scoping in is the main difference. That's the only real difference.
You have PVC pipe that's monocolor and PVC pipe with camo color.
Well, let's talk about the classic mode. Let's talk a little bit more about the classic mode. We started talking about the gun and talking shit about how it looks, but the
Classic
classic
mode,
mode,
now it's a stick.
in my own opinion, I think the classic mode is the stronger of the two modes in the game. The classic mode has one map, or it has two or three, right?
Yeah, it's got like... Okay, let me explain the story behind the classic map, however. The classic map was when Ace of Spades first launched, this is what I saw of the game, was only the classic game. And this one, you basically had grenades, which did a bit of damage around the terrain. Oh, we forgot to mention something about the base game.
Yeah, we'll get back to it. We'll get
Okay,
back to
we'll
it.
come back to it. Um,
The classic mode in the classic mode, the grenades they do a little bit of block damage. They do massive amounts of player damage, and you have one gun. You have
and you have a
just
shovel.
just the shovel.
And you have block placing capabilities. And the block's
Yeah.
the same size, but at least, I don't know, it's better than the prefabs. I don't know.
I actually feel that the block placing in the classic mode is way better than in the other mode. Because in the classic mode, they built the maps around your ability to build structures. So there's the classic map. It's literally called the classic. It's the first map that ever existed. One team starts on a hill. One team starts on a hill. One team starts on a valley, and there's a big river in between. And you have to make your way across the river and into the valley to fight the other team, and vice versa if you're blue to green. And that it has lots of open space. It's got a lot of mountains and hills and things that you can work with that gives you actually time and power to build with the individual blocks. Like when we were playing last, we actually got in a match where we built a super highway above all the hills and snuck into the enemy's base.
Oh, that was
We were
horrible.
building underground tunnels with like foxholes in them to surprise the enemy, and none of that is present in the base game.
In one of the maps is literally there's already pre-made trenches, but it's really cool because you dive in the trench and then you start carving bunkers within the trench to snipe people at with your buildings. But the thing is, the difference between this mode and the other mode is, again, you don't have a commando coming in and completely obliterating the bunker into making it useless. There's actually, when you build something, the structure is still there. But of course, people can throw grenades in there, people can still tear it down, but they have to actually take it to tear it down.
Yeah. That map, by the way, is called, imaginatively, it's called Trenches.
It has, well, this one has like a,
It's got a very, I don't want to say exactly serious, because it still is a bit like, it still does feel a bit lighthearted, because you're a bunch of World War I soldiers that just keep jumping over
nothing
trenches.
so lighthearted
Keep going.
like World War One.
Yeah, but they keep
funniest
jumping
of
over the
wars.
trenches, building stuff, and it's not like in the base game, where the base game they'll give funny quips, but it inspires like a bit of lighthearted attitude in the players themselves. Like when we were playing, everyone was joking around, and after a while, the people started to kill themselves in imaginative ways. But
Oh yeah, the match can last up to 95 minutes.
oh yeah,
That
the
is
classic
horrible
mode
lengthy.
is crazy long. If you don't, if it's based around World War One, World War Two. It's World War One, but the gun feels real World War Two. It's weird, but either way, it can become a war of attrition, especially if you're not playing team deathmatch. Especially if you're playing capture the flag.
The only match is capture the flag.
No, I think they have a team deathmatch match.
Really,
doesn't it?
never. Actually, yeah, you're right. They do.
Yeah,
They do.
and the capture the flag mode is just intelligence. You pick up a briefcase of intelligence and carry it back to your base, and if neither team is getting a lot of leeway in capturing the intelligence, then it can drag on pretty damn long.
You can see why everyone lost their morale in the trenches during World War One. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Certain.
This fake ass World War One gave me real ass PTSD. No, but I gotta admit, the classic mode, though it's far from perfect, I feel it vastly outweighs the base game. And
Funny.
you can really feel Jack X's touch in the game, and not in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the base game, and then when Jagged got hold of it, they turned it into a monstrosity. Funny story about the about the classic mode is, I was recording footage so we can put like you watch the footage and listen to us, so that way it's not just a black screen. And while I was recording classic mode, we were goofing off, having fun, and then we're like, let's get some footage for normal game mode. He quit within the first match. Like, he got so frustrated, like, this isn't fun, and I'm like, come on, one more I'm gone. And I was like, wait, what? He already left the match.
Before I had finished the sentence, I don't want to do this anymore, I was already gone.
The classic mode, we got through 2 matches, and we were goofing off, building trenches, showing off our structures we had built, and, like, getting sniping people.
Those were long matches. I think the second one lasted almost 40 minutes.
And then the minute we got through... Actually, we got halfway in the match, and the minute we got in, Jeffrey's like, I don't like this.
Well, it was the saloon map, alright, it was the saloon map, and it was, as Rex said before, all snipers and all commandos. So you can't walk outside or you instantly die. You can't build or it instantly gets destroyed. I was trying to be fun. I was trying to be an engineer, you know, and then I went miner. I started trying to make my way around, build my way to the enemy, you know, kill them that way. No, I ended up having to go sniper, and that's the only time I actually started to win. And I realized partway through, I'm doing this. I don't want to be doing this. I'd much rather be doing something else. Anything else. I'd much rather be pounding 9-inch nails under my fingernails than play this game right now.
I don't know about that one.
Well, don't knock it till you try it, man.
That's my fetish, anyway.
Next time you plan to play Ace of Spades, consider bodily mutilation first.
Brought to you by this... I almost said Cheshire Cat Studios. That is a different YouTube channel.
Brought to you by the League of Cannibalistic Mutilators.
So, how can we make this game better? Scrap normal mode.
How can you make this game better? Destroy it.
Scrap normal mode.
For real though, I think if you paid a lot more attention to the classic mode, and it's a bit of a balance because there are a lot of like just voxel-based first-person shooters that weren't any good.
Okay, we're still recording, thank God.
You gotta strike a bit of a balance. You know what I mean? Because it's fun, but at the same time, you run the risk of turning generic. Because I can't say those maps don't get monotonous. Like Trenches, that one's a fun map, but
because there's actually World War I giant guns and planes that had crashed that they built, so it actually has a World War I feel to it.
World War I. There's literally a map called World War I. That's the one with the planes and the planes and the destroyed artillery and all that. Yeah, that map's called World War I. That one can get real fun. But then there's the map I was talking about before with the valley and the hills and the river, and yeah, I think y'all remember. The map is literally called Classic, and you get really bored staring at hills waiting for someone to come over.
Oh, if you thought Fallout was like, oh, everything's green, this game, everything's green, because literally there's only one block type!
You only get one block type. So as the landscape starts to be destroyed, you start to replace it with the one color.
The pastel blue or green, depending on what team you're on.
We were on blue team, and everything was blue. Everything was blue. I was tempted to let the enemy into our base just so I could place down some blocks and I could see a different goddamn color. That's not really my chief complaint with it. It's just there's not much variety. You know, the classic mode has 3 maps. The classic mode.
There's the one gun, one grenade, and the one shovel.
Yeah, I feel it would benefit a lot more if you just you added a few things. You know what I mean? You added, I don't know, a machine gun that does a lot less damage, but it obviously fires far faster. The bolt-action rifle that does way more damage, fires a lot slower. Something with a scope, you know. Well, here's a weird thing. You zoom in pretty far just staring down the iron sights.
You really
staring down the iron sights, I could kill people on the edge of the draw distance.
There also is no breathing, so again, like the minute you put your scope directly on top of him, it will stay there.
Oh yeah. You know, if nothing else, this game will make you feel much better about your ability to shoot people at distance.
Like, if your 80-year-old grandpa's like, I don't understand those games, like, just get him to play Ace of Spades. He'll understand it.
It's pretty simplistic. It's pretty simplistic.
Hey, if you want to get your grandpa to commit suicide by shoving nails underneath his fingernails, that works
Get
too.
him to play the Ace of Spades normal mode.
Another problem, it needs a community. This game is dead.
It is quite dead. When we were playing, I think there was a total of 4 active lobbies, and 2 of them were in classic mode.
No, there was only 2 lobbies.
Okay, I was stand corrected. Simplify.
Well,
2-1.
There were 4, technically. So I get in, and I'm like, let's do normal mode, because that's what I remember. I always forget classic mode's a thing, even though it's the better of the 2. And I was like, let's get normal mode out of the way, because it's Abomination. And I couldn't find a single lobby that was running, except this one, which had, like, 12 people in it. And then there were 2 other games that just had 1 person in it. Then you get classic mode, and it's still got 20 people playing in it. Classic mode, by far, is far more populated than the other game modes. But there's only 2 servers working.
Quite.
Well, that's full. You still it's really sad because there's like 16 servers, all with the different maps, and it's 0 0 0 0 0 0, and then it's like 5 0 0 0 0. Game's dead, but
And it makes me kind of sad because you look at the community hub, people do some pretty cool things in that.
some of the player-made maps, based on what I've seen, right before I boot up the game and it shows Workshop, like the 3 images I get, some of the maps do look pretty cool.
Exactly, but no one plays them because they're not integrated into the game. You have to download it and get everyone who wants to play on the map to download it. That's not.
No one plays this game anymore.
It's not conducive to anything.
In classic mode, I suggested the idea of artillery. I don't know, maybe this would be... I don't know how you'd implement it, but at least the idea that you could drop bombs on top of certain targets. Like, so let's say you think there's a trench there based on people shooting it. You could try to drop artillery. That way you actually have to build roofs on top, but it would be really rare when you do it and really hard to actually aim properly. That way, you don't have the problem with the commando, which the secondary of rocket launcher.
My counter to that is give you the ability to switch out, add more weapons first of all.
Oh jeez, God bless you.
The second, give you the ability to switch out something like switch out your grenade for a demolition charge, which does nearly no player damage, but it'll do massive block destruction.
Oh, that
way you'll be. See, you could sneak up on an enemy base, because I remember when we were playing Capture the Flag, I had actually built a base around the intelligence, and people had just tried to sneak up on me. I stood on top and sniping them, obviously. But when people snuck up on me, they'd throw grenades at me, and then it'd kill me, but then I could just jump right back in my tower. So if you could put a demolition charge at the base of the tower, destroy the whole thing, I'd still be alive, but, do damage.
Couple things why I have fun with classic mode is so they build like this wall to protect themselves to the intelligence, which is the flag. So I just knock a hole in it and then I toss a grenade and kill everyone, grab the intelligence and make my way out. Or there's one guy who's just digging a trench and I just tossed a grenade, put a block over him, blew him up, and jumped in his hole.
Okay, that reminds me of another story. And this is just classic mode, by the way. Classic mode, of course, because this is an interesting story. At least I like to tell myself. So there was enemies, and this entire time they were digging just this tunnel, like rats. They were digging a rat tunnel, which is only 2 blocks tall, which is as tall as you are when you're crouching. They're digging it straight from their base across the river, not underneath the river, because I don't think you can go underneath the river, but you just across the river into our base. And we kept wondering, how did they get in here? So I actually found a way where the tunnel was. So I went in, I dug a small hole in the wall, and I waited while all the enemies would run through. I would just shoot straight down the tunnel. And I guess this is a complaint about the game. The bullets travel further than your render distance does.
Oh.
So I couldn't see the end of the tunnel. It was a long tunnel. So I would just fire down the tunnel, and chances are I'd kill someone because the bullet would just keep going, even if I can't see the person.
You know, Heroes and Generals did something right. Heroes and Generals is it's alright, it's bad, but it's fun. But if you fire a bullet from across the map and it strikes a guy, it won't do much damage because the bullet has slowed down that distance. That doesn't happen in Ace of Spades. It carries the damage with it.
Oh yeah.
So maybe, if you made it to where you could shoot the guy halfway across the map, make it to where at least a headshot won't kill the guy. Unless it's a scoped rifle, specifically made to do that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And this goes for any multiplayer game. Have a progression system. It adds to the game tremendously.
Okay. I'd like to qualify that statement as saying you don't need one, but if you don't have one, you better make sure that you have variation in your game modes. Because here we are back at the Ace of Spades normal mode, where the guns aren't really a variation of each other.
And even then, we can only play for an hour before we're like, well, we're bored. It's the same thing over and over again. Because it's the same gun. Like, it's not like, well, let me switch it up and play a different class like in TF2 or Dirty Bomb, you know? It's just, you get the base gun. That's it.
Yeah. Earlier I mentioned having played 8 hours in the past 2 weeks. Those were on 8 separate occasions. That was not me campaigning through the game, trying to get notes for this or anything. That was me trying to swallow the bitter pill that was the fact that I bought this abomination.
Oh, jeez. I'm trying to think. We bought Murder Miners recently, and because we're thinking about recording that for a series and just laughing at what a disaster that one is. But it's like, you get a few kills with the different variation of guns there is, because there's at least, like, 7 different weapons in that one, right?
Yeah, no, there's quite a few. I was playing the, I don't even know what they call it. They call it a free-for-all match, but it was more like a Hunger Games thing. They spawn you on the edge of an arena, and in the middle there's a bunch of different guns, and you run in, grab a gun, and get out.
That sounds really cool, actually.
It actually was. It was quite fun. And it had a lot more guns, and I had more fun playing that than I had more fun playing that with like 2 guys that were surprisingly hateful. More fun in that than I've ever had in Ace of Spades.
The point I was initially going to make is, while playing Murder Miners, I got like maybe 30 minutes in, and I got bored. Because again, there's nothing to work towards, there's nothing like any overarching goal. In Insurgency, we play the co-op mode, and either it's Horde mode where you unlock new guns, because, well, you get like, I guess points to carry the new type of guns? Or it's us trying to clean out a map, and there's the challenge of trying to clear out a map of a bunch of enemies, which is super difficult. But the gunplay is super fun and varied, depending on what class you go as. That doesn't happen with Ace of Spades. And we're only talking about normal mode, because we're not touching... classic mode, because we're not going near normal mode with a 10-foot pole.
Okay, I'd like to take back a redacted statement I said earlier when I said I paid $1 and something for this. I paid $3.74 each copy.
Oh.
Yeah. I could have taken those $3 and gone to my local hardware store, bought a cheap hammer, and beat myself to death with it.
I thought you were going to say you were going to buy some nails.
The nails are implied. I mean, it is a hammer.
Oh no, I thought you were kind of like, I don't need this bone today. Just take the back of the hammer.
I'll pull the bone out, make nails with it, and then use it to kill myself. Magic.
Well, it looked like a better gun than this game has.
Oh my god. Oh. Weapon design is not the best. Okay, some of the weapons look alright, like there's the engineer's shotgun and whatnot. It looks like a shotgun. Then there's others, like the rocket launcher, which is literally a green tube. And, you know, granted, if you look at a lot of rocket launchers like the AT-2 or any American rocket launcher, a lot of them tend to be very just green tube-ish. But I think a good example of the way to make it not so is if you look at Halo. Halo, they had a lot of little funny quips written on the side of the rocket launcher, like the instructions were point at enemy, not at self. That was a funny little way to make it less bland. This one, nope. It is a green tube, the end of which is slightly darker green.
There is no shading on the tube either, so the entire thing is the same dark green.
Yeah. There's just so
This-
many things they could have done. So many things they could have done.
like not giving the game to Jagex.
Oh,
Which disappoints me because I've always liked Jagex as a company. Our childhoods were made up of RuneScape, which is
oh yeah. Yeah,
not a
I-
good game in itself, though. The grinding in that game was.
it did get pretty fucking bad. Once you finish all the story missions, at that point it was just up to you to get money to buy all the best things.
Oh no, it's like you want to do this story mission, you gotta at least have a minimum of 69 summoning. Well, time to spend 5 hours of my life summoning a dog for
Oh yeah.
over and
I've-
over again.
Oh god, that was me. I was really broke and I wanted to buy the fucking dragon armor, so I started cutting down yew logs, and I kept cutting down. I started. So but the thing is, I was like 20 levels away from yew logs, so I started cutting down willows, yew logs, till I cut down magic logs, and I just kept going until I got the best log of all.
I
I
think
got to like 99 wood cutting, just because I was poor.
I had more fun cutting logs than I did playing Ace of Spades.
See, we fucking hate Ace of Spades so damn much. We're talking about the shittier parts of other better games because it's more entertaining.
I remember. Okay, we're gonna close up the podcast soon because we're pretty much done with this game. But I remember playing RuneScape, and I was like, "You need level 69 to cut down this board to get in the room to get the item to finish the quest." And I was like, "Ah, well, time to go cut down willow logs."
Yeah, that was a lot of my time spent in that game.
That
Jeez.
game was all grinding for your like. How many levels were there?
I think there was like 99 in every skill.
No. I mean, how many skills were there?
Oh god, there was tons. There was tons of skills. Especially if you became a member, they added like 4 more.
We should do a podcast on RuneScape. But anyway, that's been the podcast. I'm hoping to do one at least once a month on a different game. If you guys have any recommendations, if there's anyone watching, about a game you think we should do, if we can afford it, we'll gladly do it. So far, our next games in the list are Jazz Punk and Murder Miners. So we'll see you next time, and we're gonna
Closing
keep talking.
statements. This game, an abomination. An abomination that I think everyone who listens to this ever should buy. Because
We found our
I
strategy
want
to deal
blow
with ISIS.
someone's mind. I want to blow someone's mind. I want someone to come and see this game with, like, we're gonna buy it. We're all gonna buy it and just give it negative reviews on the store, and we're gonna make it into one of the biggest communities. And we're just gonna keep giving it negative reviews. It's gonna be overwhelmingly negative with millions of players. We will start a propaganda around the world to get people to play this damn game. Just because I want to fuck with Jagex for ruining my childhood.
We'll catch you guys later. I forgot to hit the stop recording button. Let me